Culture Uncut. This is Culture Uncut. This is Culture Uncut. I am your host, Jason Spears, and Colt fans, we've got a lot to talk about.
This is Culture Uncut. I'm your host, Jason Spears, and I've got a nice 10-pack of questions from you guys to answer, and a funny Jim Irsay story that I'm going to read verbatim from the mouth of Tony Saragusa. But first, I just want to kind of let you guys know, there's really no update on Simmons or Hendrickson. I really don't bother anybody during the weekend. That's the time with their families and stuff, so I haven't really checked in. But I'm sure we'll have some news early on this week with the signings of T. Higgins and Jamar Chase official, I think. So the numbers should come in, and those should be the dominoes that lead to the Hendrickson thing speeding up. And as far as Simmons, I know they were talking the last time I checked, so I'm sure they still are. But I'll get back to you guys on that probably Monday or Tuesday if I hear anything. So that's just a quick update there. So let's jump into another wonderful Bob Irsay story. I'm not sure when this was. It was between, I guess, probably 90 and 95 or 96, because Marchibroda was coaching and Saragusa was with the Colts. So it's in that span. It doesn't say when exactly it was. So here we go. This is from the mouth of Tony Saragusa, and I found it on an old Deadspin article. Okay, here we go. Irsay was like 70 years old at the time. He's talking kind of loud as he walks up to me, like he's already pretty lit up. He starts saying, I heard about you. I heard you can drink. Let me tell you, I'm the one that can drink. He's mumbling some other stuff, and I'm not saying much. I'm just trying to keep things calm. Then he looks at the bartender and says, get us 2 shots of Jack Daniels. I say, okay, but just 1 shot, Bob. I drove my motorcycle and everything. He wants none of that. He says again, I heard you can drink. Well, let me tell you, I can drink. So he utters another shot and then another. Now he's getting louder and louder with every shot, and people are starting to gather around. There are media people around, and I'm trying to get the old man to stop. It's not that I can't drink with him, but he's getting sloppy, and I really do have to take my motorcycle back to my place. The last thing I need is a DUI after a Christmas party, but this is the owner, and I can't insult the guy at his own party at his house. As we get past shot number 3 or 4, Irsay is just mumbling, and Teddy Marchibroda comes over with his wife. Teddy's looking kind of nervous, and I'm looking at him like, well, what the hell do I do? Teddy's wife stands next to Irsay, and Irsay puts his arm in hers, and in just a friendly way. Then Irsay starts to ramble about Teddy, about what a great coach he is, what a great man he is, and what a great wife he has, until all of a sudden he stops talking. At that very moment, Irsay literally falls backwards and passes out on the floor. Teddy's wife falls to the ground. I'm stunned. Teddy's scrambling. He doesn't know whether to pick up his wife first or Irsay first. It's crazy. Everybody's scrambling, and now everybody is staring at what's going on. General Manager Bob Irsay, who's been with Irsay since the Colts were in Baltimore, hustles over and looks at me and says, help me pick him up. Now, this is getting a little embarrassing, but okay, I'll help the owner up. Irsay tells me to help get Irsay in the house. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? He can't handle Irsay himself, so he tells me, just do it. So now I'm helping carry Irsay out of the room. As I'm walking, Irsay and I have Irsay arm in arm, just dragging his feet along. The other players see me and start doing that smooching sound and snickering at me that I'm a kiss ass. Yeah, this is just great. My freaking drunk ass owner is making me look like a jerkbag. Irsay and I get Irsay in the house, and I'm ready to go home. Irsay had all these dogs too, and they run up to us as we get in the house. Irsay is mumbling, "Look at my babies, they're so pretty." This shit is nuts. Irsay yells at me, "Help me get him to his bedroom." I'm like, no way. This is as far as it goes. Next thing you know, you're gonna have me getting him out of his clothes or whatever. Fuck that. This is where the rescue mission ends. I think that's a hilarious story, and was a great storyteller. R.I.P. to Goose, man. He was one of the more entertaining football players that I ever saw and watched, and that was another classic from the vault. Bob Irsay. I'd never heard that one before, but it sounds like typical Irsay. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. I'm always on the hunt for new stories and interesting stories about old Bob, and happened to come across that one when I was doing some research for a news story, and it was on Deadspin, which, by the way, I'm not a fan of Deadspin. I hate Deadspin. I don't even know if it exists anymore. This is from like, I don't know, 2012 or something like that. But that was my story, or excuse me, that was Bob's story, or excuse me, that was Goose's story about Bob, and me retelling it. So, hope you guys enjoyed that. Let's jump into this Q&A. Got 10 questions. Let's see. After free agency wave 1, say no more major moves are made, what's the Colts' most important position to fill? That is from @NitneyNatRec. I think that's pretty clear. It's certainly got to be tight end. The Colts have absolutely nothing in their tight end room right now outside of Alec Ogletree, Jelani Woods, and Will Mallory, who they don't really seem to like. So I would say, without question, the tight end room, the tight end position, is the biggest position of need right now. Question 2. What did EJ Speed have to do? See, this question was hard to follow and understand, so I tried to figure out what he meant. What did EJ Speed have to do better to be retained by the Colts? That's from @GI_Joe317. I changed how he wrote it because the way he wrote it didn't really make any sense. What he needed to do was play better. I mean, he was bad in coverage. He did not tackle well. He struggled this year. And the Colts probably aren't going to retain him. I would put the odds at very low that he's retained. I would say like 1%. But yeah, he just needed to play better. He simply didn't. And also, like, I think they need to get him and Zaire away from each other. I don't think that situation is good for anybody. I do think he's still capable of being a really good player if he gets to the right system. I think if he goes to Dallas and Flus signs him, I really think EJ actually likes Flus and would play really well for him. So I just think it's a good time for them to part ways. EJ's grown to what he's going to grow to here, and it's time to move on. So he just needed to play better, man. They all really did. 3, and I got this from a couple of people. Is Jim Irsay okay? Is his health declining? We saw a lot less of him this past season. That's from @ColtsBlueBand and @PhilWeeks, WEAKS. I think his health it was really, really bad last year. I think it is starting to improve. I'm not sure what what his potential as far as how well he's going to be is, because he had a very serious health issue last year that almost killed him. So I know he's doing better, but I mean, relative to what? I think he's... And again, I don't know any of these things for sure. This is just what I think. I think he's doing a bit better, but still probably not where he wants to be. Physically or mentally, but I do think he has improved. So outside of that, that's a topic that they don't really talk about, and nor should they. That's personal. So, but I appreciate the question. I did the best I could answering it. What running back from this draft do you like for us to pick for added competition? That's from @Otinogenesis. Okay, so there's Cam Scatabo from Arizona State, Ollie Gordon II from Oklahoma State, Rocket Sanders from South Carolina, Devin Neal from Kansas, and LaQuint Allen from Syracuse. I like all these guys because they're multi-dimensional. They can run, they can catch the ball out of the backfield, and they can block And the blocking thing is big, and you have to start with being willing to block, and that's a lot of that's mental. All these guys are willing to get in there and mix it up, and you can always coach technique. So the 1-2's got to be there. I think all these guys could be solid fits. They can all catch the ball out of the backfield. They all do different things, but I think they all would be solid competition to have. I certainly think any of these guys is going to win, obviously, the third running back job. They could very easily win the second one. You never know. I mean, it depends on how well they play throughout the season. But young legs, man. Young legs, so you never know. So thanks for that question. Do you see the Colts going tight end at 14 now that there are no major holes on defense? That is from @Dimes78881. It depends on what happens with Hendrickson, I think, but also they only have one guy signed next year on that at the defensive end spot. I would not be surprised if either A, they traded back, B, they took a edge that they deem like a guy that would come in and make noise right away, or at least can make noise in the next year. I would not be shocked if they took an edge at 14. There's certainly some options there. I think they could trade back and take Loveland. There's so many things they can do. They could take Campbell. I mean, it's really who's on the board and what they want to do, what the roster looks like at that time. Again, I know this is kind of a cop-out answer, but I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that they take Warren at 14, because I know they like Loveland, and I also know they like Taylor from LSU. So I wouldn't be surprised by a edge pick there, to be quite honest with you. So we shall see. But they definitely do need to get a tight end in the first few rounds, no question. Thanks for that question, by the way. 6. How do you feel about the McAfee drama with Zaire and Speed? I mean, I talked about it at the time. It's stupid on both sides. I mean, I know McAfee, he's an entertainer, so he's going to make, he's going to do what he does, and Speed and Franklin need to just focus on winning. Like, we're not a winning team, so I hate the podcast. I don't like any of that crap when you're a losing organization. I don't think you should be doing it. I think that time should be spent, and I understand the argument, like they have lives outside of football, but during football season, it's about winning games, man. And when you're on, and then when you put your foot in your mouth constantly, like Zaire did, talking about trash teams and mentioning the Giants, then they go out and get thrashed by the Giants. It's just not good. So I don't like any of it. Like, I wish Pat would kind of just let it alone. I wish the 2 linebackers, well, hopefully that'll be over now. That whole podcast will be over now, and hopefully none of the other linebackers join it or any other teammates join it, because I think it's a distraction that this team does not need. I just don't like any of it. So I don't really. I guess I don't. You could look at it 2 ways. Do I blame everybody, or I don't blame anybody? I don't know. I think they're all have some level of responsibility, but I don't know, man. I just wish those guys would have focused on football. It really pisses me off that they're, doing podcasts, and that seems more important, or, as important as football to them. And it didn't rub me the right way, but I'm an old person, so that's probably why. Let's see. Also, Speed going at Scotty Colts about making t-shirts. Oh yeah. That's from @Colts Blue Band. Yeah, I mean, all that's just garbage. Like, just leave it alone, man. Like, and I even said that to Speed. Like, just, what are you doing, man? And I got blocked for it. And I've always had a good relationship with Speed. He was on our podcast, and he, I've always gotten along with him. But I just, you start arguing with fans and getting into the, squabbles over stuff. Like, it's not a good look. And then, he blocked me, so I probably will never talk to Speed again. But I like Speed as a person, I do. But I just didn't think he handled that very well. So I think one of the best things of this offseason will be those 2 guys not being like Speed being gone and Zaire being by himself. Hopefully he doesn't drag like Kenny or somebody else on it and make another podcast. I think that needs to be put to bed. If you want to do that, do it in the off season. And again, I know I sound old, but I'm about winning, and we haven't done that in Indianapolis consistently in 10 years. So that's where my allegiance lies, not to a podcast, and hopefully they will figure that out and focus on trying to win and get in the playoffs and maybe get to a Super Bowl before I'm dead. That would be nice. So thank you at Colts Blue Band for that question. I hope I did a decent job of answering it. Let's see. Do you think the Colts have a shot to win the AFC South? That's from at Eddie Young 2015. I do, but I also think the other three teams do probably as well, because we just don't know. I don't know what I'm going to see out of Jacksonville. I don't know what, because they've got a new coach. I don't know what I'm going to see out of Tennessee, because I'm guessing they're going to take Cam Ward. And then obviously Houston, you don't know what you're going to see because they seemingly don't have an offensive line. And for us, we don't know about our quarterback yet. So, but do I think there's a chance? Absolutely. I think the defense, and again, the variables, staying healthy and having quality depth and all that is important. And staying healthy at key positions also very important. If those things happen, we've been in contention the last 3 years, and I think this roster is superior to those. Last year, I really think if we win the Denver game, we make the playoffs. I think when we lost that game, the team kind of just went even though like we did lose I think their focus would have been different going into that game had there been a win in Denver. But it is what it is. I definitely think that there is a path to the playoffs, but they can't have slow starts. They can't lose to teams they shouldn't lose to. They have to play really, really good football from beginning to end and set a standard and play by that standard all year. It's really that simple. But I do believe in them. I do think they've got a shot. Question 8. Would you rather AR become the franchise quarterback we've all been waiting for, or would you rather wipe the slate clean house and start over? That's from at John Hankey, Hanki. I mean, this is an easy one for me. As much as I hate Ballard and all that, and I bitched and I wanted them all gone, if you're telling me we got our guy and he's a top 5 or top 10 quarterback, and we've got our guy and he's 23 years old and he's got all this green grass in front of him, dude, I'm taking that every 10 out of 10 times, twice on Sunday, whatever the sayings are you want to use. Anthony Richardson turns into a franchise quarterback. We are set. We are going to make some noise in the AFC. So I would take that 1,000 times. I would take Chris Ballard being the general manager for the rest of Anthony Richardson's career if that happens. That's how much I think it would matter and how important it would be to the franchise. So that's an easy answer for me, no question. Everything is about winning. If we win, that's all that matters. And if we have a franchise quarterback, we're going to win a lot because this league is about quarterbacks, and it's a quarterback-driven league. And if you've got a good one, chances are you're going to win a lot of football games. So let's see. Number 9. Key matchups on the schedule that could define the season. That is from, let's see. I can't even read my own writing. It's Dunkerley Carter. I'm going to say that. At Dunkerley Carter. Okay, so obviously the AFC South games are most important. We cannot continue to keep going 3-3 and 2-4 in the AFC South. The Colts have got to at least have a winning record in the AFC South this year. 4-2 is the bare minimum. 5-1 would be great. 6-0 would be perfect. It's not a good division. The Colts should be. I mean, that's been the determining factor. If you really want to break it down in the last couple of years of why we haven't been in the playoffs, is we just haven't beat teams in our division. I mean, we lose to Jacksonville every year, get swept by Houston, and beat Tennessee twice. 2-4, and then beat Jacksonville once, or sometimes lose to them twice. You're not going to make it. So first and foremost, those games are of utmost importance, and really anything below 4-2, you're putting yourself in a serious predicament to not make the playoffs. So 4-2's got to be the bare minimum as far as the division goes. Then as far as like the rest of the schedule, I think you look at games at home against Denver, home against Vegas, and home against Miami, because those are teams that are in the AFC that we're going to be competing against, especially Denver, I think, and probably Miami. I don't know about Vegas. Those games are important. You want to have the tiebreaker over those teams. And then the two other ones that are super important are at the LA Chargers and at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Again, you want to go win these AFC games, and you want to be able to have the tiebreaker over those teams. So those 5 games outside of our division are all super important games that we have to find a way to come out with a winning record in. You can't go 1-4 in those games, or probably not even 2-3. You're probably going to need to go 3-2, and hope that the 3 teams you beat are the ones that are having the better seasons, so you win the tiebreaker over them. So, thank you for that question, Mr. Carter Dunkerley, or as you're known on Twitter, at Dunkerley Carter. Final question from at humor_less1. Why was Ryan Grigson so bad? So it was kind of a long-winded tweet, but basically Humorless One was young, so he doesn't really remember what made Grigson so bad. There's a lot of things. First of all, he couldn't draft offensive linemen to save his life. He did not really draft a good one until Jim Irsay essentially made him draft one in 2016 when we got Ryan Kelly in the first round. He just bomb after bomb. His drafts were the worst drafts you'll ever see. Go back and look at our drafts from 2012 to 2016. They're all horrendous drafts. And outside of that, he overspent on really bad players like Goster Charles. I'm trying to think. He signed like the corpse of Andre Johnson to a ton of money. I'm trying to think. Who else did he sign? He signed a ton. I mean, he spent a ton of money on free agents, but they were all usually pretty damn old, and didn't really ever live up to the billing that they were supposed to. Like Art Jones is another one. Like, I loved Art Jones in Baltimore, and I thought he'd be a good player here. He never lived up to anything. So he drafted poorly, he chose free agents poorly, overpaid poorly, or overpaid a lot, signed a lot of older players that were past their prime, and he was just a generally an overall prick. Like, he was not liked by people, which, that's kind of overrated, being liked by people as long as you're winning, but just the stories that I've heard from former players that were around him, he was just kind of like a black cloud in the locker room, and he didn't treat people well, and none of that's good. Like, so there's a lot of reasons, and I know there's like the Dan Dockiches who that worship the Ryan Grigson's balls and wash them and worship them again. There's a reason why this guy got fired in 2016, hasn't gotten another general manager job. It's because he's not that great. He basically coasted on one player. Well, two. I mean, he got, I'll give him credit. He got T.Y. Hilton, which was probably his best pick. Andrew Luck was made for him because that was a Jim Irsay decision. And so, yay, T.Y. Hilton in like 6 drafts. You know what I mean? Or 5 drafts or whatever it was. So he just sucked at his job. They won, yeah, because, they had Andrew Luck, and he drug. I mean, if you look at that 2012 roster, is one of the worst rosters I've ever seen put together, and he drugged that roster to the playoffs. It was, those teams had some good players on them, but a lot of them, like Mathis and Reggie and those guys, were left over from the Polian era. So, I don't have any love for Ryan Grigson. I think he ruined Andrew Luck's career by not making it more of a thing, or more of a having more purpose to protect him. He really didn't do it until 2016. He really didn't even try. Like, he's drafting, I'm trying to think, he drafted like Khalid Holmes, Hugh Thornton, and you're probably like, who are these people? Exactly. I remember Samson Satelli, Mike McGlenn, Gosder Cherilus, overpaid like hell for him. Again, Anthony Costanzo, Apollyon holdover. He did not draft him. So we basically had Anthony Costanzo, and that was like it for 4 or 5 years till we got Ryan Kelly. Everything else was average at best. Joe Haig was okay. The kid out of Ohio, Mewhort, was okay, but he could never stay healthy. That's it, man. The rest of it, like, it was trash. I mean, absolute trash. He took a beating. I don't think people really realize how much of a beating that man took. But that's why I don't like him. Everybody cites his record as like that being his overall strength, and okay, I'll give you that. But you put any other quarterback on those rosters, and that's a 3-4 win team every year under Ryan Grigson, and he gets fired 2 years earlier than he did. So that's my feelings on it. I know there are still like token Ryan Grigson ball washers that come from the Dan Dockich world, who I have zero respect for, because he's an agenda-driven guy. At the end of the day, like, both of these statements can be true. Ryan Grigson sucked at his job, and Chris Ballard has also sucked at his job, for different reasons. It's a nuanced conversation, but certainly different reasons. So with that, I am going to wrap this up. I will be back probably in the next couple days. I'm sure something's going to break in the next couple days to talk about this. There was a few other questions. I just didn't want to do like a super long, like more than a half an hour podcast. So maybe I'll come back and do a part 2 with those questions and tell another Irsay story and then have like an update or something like that. Let me know if that's what you guys want. And also let me know what you think of the story, the not Grigson, but the Saragusa story, and if you have any other questions, I'll be glad to answer them. I appreciate everybody that answered, when I put out the tweet and asked questions. I tried to do as many of them as I could. I will definitely answer the rest of them going forward at some point. So anyway, I hope everybody has a great start to their week. It's Monday, and I know that's probably the case of the Mondays, as Office Space would say. But I hope everybody has a great week, and leave any comments you want. And like I said, share the podcast, get your friends, if they're Colt fans or just NFL fans, whatever, share it with them. I'm trying to grow this thing. I appreciate all you day one supporters for always riding with me. I'll have a bunch of draft stuff coming when the draft comes. I'll definitely be doing capsules on every guy and breaking them down and breaking down the picks and all that. So stay tuned. Lots more coming, and lots more info coming. This free agency market thing just started, and there's a long way to go. So I will talk to you guys soon. Again, leave some comments. I'll hit you back in the comment section, and I will talk to you guys in a couple of days, probably, hopefully, maybe tomorrow. You never know. So with that, I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you for listening. This has been Culture Uncut with your host, Jason Spears.